Well, yeah, I'm live. So, hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today is day 74 of the plan. We'll stop for a second. And if you're watching this today, this is posted. It is currently St. Patrick's Day, so I'm wearing my green. I'm not really sure how visible it says to be green on camera. Maybe I pull it close to my monitor. But I'm wearing green. And so, yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day. If it's not St. Patrick's Day, I guess you kind of add what. But still, anyways, we've had a good day so far. Today, since it's day 4, it'll be First Kings chapters 2 through 5. So let's get started. Chapter 2. David's dying instructions to Solomon. As the time approached for David to die, he ordered his son Solomon, "As for me, I'm going the way of all the earth. Be strong and be a man, and keep your obligation to the Lord your God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his statutes, commands, and ordinances, and decrees. This is written in the law of Moses, so that you'll have success in everything you do whenever you turn, and so that the Lord will fulfill his promise that he made to me. If your sons guard their way to walk faithfully before me, and with all their heart, with all their soul, you never fail to have a man on the throne of Israel. You will also know what Joab, son of Zeruiah, did to me, and what he did to the two commanders of the Israel army, Abner, son of Ner, and Amasa, son of Jether. He murdered them in a time of peace to avenge blood shed in war. He spilled that blood on his own waistband and on the sandals of his feet. Act according to your wisdom, and do not let his gray head descend to Sheol in peace. Show kindness to the sons of Barzillai, the Gileadite, and let them among those who eat at your table, because you support me when I fled from your brother Absalom. Keep an eye on Shimi, son of Gera, the Benjamite from Ruben, who was with you. He uttered malicious curses against me the day I went to Mahanaim, but he came down to meet me at Jordan River. I swore to him by the Lord, I'll never kill you with the sword. So don't let him go unpunished, for you are the wise man. You know how to deal with him, bringing his gray head down to Sheol with the blood." Then David resisted his fathers and was buried. Wait, not resisted. Then David rested with his fathers and was buried on the city of David. The length of the time David reigned over Israel was 40 years. He reigned 7 years in Hebron and 33 years in Jerusalem. Solomon sat on the throne of his father David, and his kingship was firmly established. Adonijah's foolish request. Now Adonijah, son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, Solomon's mother. She asked, "Did you come peacefully?" "Peacefully," he replied. Then he asked, "May I talk with you?" "Go ahead," she answered. "No, the kingship was mine," he said. "All of Israel expected me to be king, but then the kingship was turned over to my brother, for the Lord gave it to him. So now I have one request for you. Don't turn me down." She said, "Go on." He replied, "Please speak to King Solomon, since he won't turn you down. Let him give me Abishag the Shunammite as a wife." "Very well," Bathsheba replied. "I will speak to the king for you." So Bathsheba went to King Solomon to speak to them about Adonijah. The court stood up to greet her, bowed to her, and sat down on his throne, and had a throne placed for the king's mother. So she sat down at his right hand. Then she said, "I have one small request for you. Don't turn me down." "Go and ask, mother," the king replied, "for I won't turn you down." She said, "Let Abishag the Shunammite be given to your brother Adonijah as what?" Solomon answered his mother, "Why are you requesting Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah? Since he is my elder brother, you might as well ask the kingship for him." But the priest Abiathar and Joab, son of Zeruiah. Then King Solomon took an oath by the Lord, "May God punish me and do so severely if Adonijah has not made this request at the cost of his life. And now now as the Lord lives, the one who established me was seated on the throne of my father David, and made me my dynasty as he promised. I swear to Adonijah he will be put to death today." Then King Solomon dispatched Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, who struck down Adonijah, and he died. Bithar's banishment. The king said to the priest of Bithar, "Go to your fellows in Anathoth. Even though you deserve to die, I will not put you to death today." since you carry the ark of the Lord your God in the presence of my father David, you suffered through all of my father suffered. So Solomon banished Abiathar from being the Lord's priest, and it fulfilled the Lord's prophecy had spoken to Shiloh and Eli's family. Joab's execution. The news reached Joab. Since he had supported Adonijah but not Absalom, Joab fled to the Lord's tabernacle and took hold of the horns of the altar. As reported to King Solomon, Joab fled to the Lord's tabernacle and now beside the altar. Then Solomon sent Benaiah son of Jehoiada and told him, "Go and strike him down." So Benaiah went to the tabernacle and said to Joab, "This is what the king says, come out." Joab said, "No, for I will die here." So Benaiah took a message back to the king. This is what Joab said, and this is how he had answered me. The king said to him, "Do just as he says, strike him down and bury him in order to remove from me and from my father's family the blood that Joab shed without just cause. The Lord will bring him back his own blood on his head, because he struck down 2 men more righteous and better than he, without my father David's knowledge. With his sword, Joab murdered Abner son of Ner, commander of Israel's army, and Amasa son of Jether, commander of Judah's army. The responsibility for the deaths will come back to Joab and his descendants forever. David, his descendants, his dynasty, and his throne, there will be peace from the Lord forever. Benaiah son of Jehoiada went up, struck down Joab, put him to death. He is buried in a house in the wilderness. Then the king appointed Benaiah son of Jehoiada in Joab's place over the army, and he appointed the priests Zadok and Abithar's place. Shimei's banishment and execution. The king summoned Shimei and said to him, "Build a house for yourself in Jerusalem and live there, but don't leave there and go anywhere else. On the day you leave in crossing the Kidron Valley, you know for sure that you will certainly die. Your blood will be on your own head." Shimei said to the king, "The sentence is fair. Your servant will do as my lord the king has spoken." And Shimei lived in Jerusalem for a long time. But then at the end of 3 years, 2 of Shimei's slaves ran away to Achish, son of Maacah, king of Gath. Shimei was informed, "Look, your slaves are in Gath." So Shimei saddled his donkey and set out to Achish at Gath to search for his slaves. He went and brought them back from Gath. It was reported to Solomon that Shimei had gone to Jerusalem and Gath and returned. So the king summoned Shimei and said to him, "Can I make you swear by the Lord and warn you, saying, on the day you leave and go anywhere else, know for sure that you'll certainly die?" And he said to me, "That sentence is fair, I'll obey. So why have you not kept the Lord's oath and command I gave you?" The king also said, "You yourself know that the evil that you did to my father David, therefore the Lord has brought you back your evil on your head. The king Solomon will be blessed, and David's throne will remain established before the Lord forever." Then the king commanded Benaiah son of Jehoiada, and he went down to strike Shimei down, and he died. So the kingdom was established in Solomon's hand. Second chapter for today. That was a bit of a long chapter, but this is the second chapter for today, chapter 3. The Lord appears to Solomon. Solomon made an alliance with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, by marrying Pharaoh's daughter. Solomon brought her to the city of David until he finished building his palace, its temple, and the walls surrounding Jerusalem. However, the people were sacrificing on the high places because at that time a temple for the Lord's name had not been built. Solomon loved the Lord by walking in the statutes of his father David, but he also sacrificed and burned incense on the high places. The king went to Gibeon and sacrificed there because it was the most famous high place. He offered 1,000 burnt offerings on that altar. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream at night. God said, "Ask, what shall I give you?" And Solomon replied, "You have shown great faithful love to your servant, my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness, righteousness, and integrity. You have continued this great faithful love for him by giving him a son to sit on the throne, as is today. Lord my God, you have now made your servant king in my father David's place. Yet I am just a youth with no experience in leadership. Your servant is among your people you have chosen, a people too many to be numbered or counted. So give your servant a receptive heart to judge people and discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge this great people of yours?" Now it pleased the Lord that Solomon had requested this. So God said to him, "Because you requested for this and did not ask for a long life, riches for yourself, or the death of your enemies, but you asked for discernment for yourself to administer justice, I'll therefore do what you have asked. I'll give you a wise, understanding heart so that there's never been anyone like you before and never will be again. In addition, I'll give you what you did not ask for, both riches and honor, so that no king will be your equal during your entire life. If you walk in my ways and keep my statutes and commands just as your father David did, I'll give you a long life." Then Solomon woke up and realized it had been a dream. He went to Jerusalem, stood before the ark of the Lord's covenant, offered burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. Then he held a feast for all his servants. Solomon's wisdom. Then the two women that were prostitutes came to the king and stood before him. One woman said, "Please, this woman and I live in the same house, and I had a baby while she was in the house. On the third day after I gave birth, she also had a baby, and we were alone. No one else was with us in the house, just two of us were there. During the night, this woman's son died because she lay on him. She got up in the middle of the night and took my son from my side while your servant was asleep. She laid her in arms and put her dead son in my arms. When I got up in the morning, turned to my son, I discovered he was dead. That morning, when I looked closely at him, I realized it was not the son I gave birth to. No, the other one said, my son is the living one. Your son is the dead one. The first one said, no, your son is the dead one. My son's the living one. So they argued before the king. The king replied, this woman says the son who is alive is mine, and your son's dead. The woman says, no, your son's dead, and my son's alive. The king continued, bring me a sword. So they brought the sword to the king. And the king said, cut the living boy in two and give half to one and half to the other. The woman whose son was alive spoke to the king because she felt great compassion for her son. My lord, give her the living baby, she said, but please don't have him killed. The other one said, he will not be mine or yours, cut him too. He responded, give the living baby to the first woman, and don't kill him. She is his mother. All of Israel heard about the judgment that the king had given. They stood in awe of the king because they saw that God's wisdom was in him to carry out justice. Halfway through, Solomon's officials. King Solomon reigned over all of Israel, and these were his officials. Azariah, son of Zadok priest, Elikoreth, and Ahijah, the sons of Shisha, secretaries. Jehoshaphat, son of Elihud, court historian, not son of Jehoiad, in charge of the army. Zadok and Abithar, priest, Zeri, son of Nathan, in charge of the deputies. Sabud, son of Nathan, priest and advisor to the king, Ezer, in charge of the palace, and Adoniram, son of Abda, in charge of forced labor. Solomon had 12 deputies for all of Israel, provide food for the king and his household. Each one a provision for the month of the year. These were the names: Ben Hur, the hill country of Ephraim, Ben Decker and Makaz, Shalbim, Ben Shemesh, and Elon Beth Panam. Ben Hez and Arabah, he had Sukkot and the whole land of Hefer. Ben Abinadab, all of Nethathur, Path, daughter of Solomon, was his wife. Benah, son of Ahilud, and Tinach, Megiddo, and all Beth Sheen, which was beside Sirathim, below Jezreel, from Beth Sheen to Abel Melho, as far as the other side of Jochim. Ben Geber and Ramoth Gilead, he had the villagers of Jair, son of Manasseh, which are in Gilead, and had the region of Argob, which is in Bashan, 6 great cities with walls and bronze bars. Ahinadab, son of Iddo, the Mahanim. Ahimaaz, son Naphtali, he also had Mary, daughter of Solomon, Basemath. Benah, son of Hushai, and Asher and Beloth. Jehoshaphat, son of Hurai, and Issachar. Shmi, son of Elah and Benjamin. Geber, son of Beri, in the land of Gilead, in the country of King Shihon. The Amorites to King Aga of Bashan. And there were one duty in the land of Judah. Solomon's provisions. Judah and Israel were as numerous as the sand by the sea. They were eating, drinking, and rejoicing. Solomon ruled all of the kingdoms from Euphrates River to the land of the Philistines, as far as the border of Egypt. They offered tribute and served Solomon all the days of his life. Solomon's provisions for one day were 150 bushels of fine flour and 300 bushels of meal, 10 fine cattle, 20 range cattle, and 100 sheep and goats, beside deer, gazelles, roebucks, and pen-fed poultry, for he had dominion over everything west of the Euphrates, from Tifsah to Gaza, and over all the kings west of the Euphrates. He had peace on his surrounding borders. Throughout Solomon's reign, Judah and Israel lived in safety from Dan to Beersheba. each person under his own vine and his own fig tree. Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horsemen, and for his chariots and 12,000 horsemen. Each of those deputies for a month in turn provided food for King Solomon for everyone who came to King Solomon's table. They neglected nothing. Each man brought the barley or the straw of the chariot teams and the horsemen to the required place according to his assignment. Solomon's wisdom and literary gifts. God gave Solomon wisdom, very great insight, understanding and vast and the seashore. Solomon's wisdom was greater than all wisdom of the people of the east, greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. He was wiser than anyone, wiser than Ethan the Israelite and Heman, Calcol, and Darda, sons of Mahol. His reputation extended to all surrounding nations. Solomon spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs numbered 1,005. He spoke about the trees from the cedar and the Lebanon, the high self growing out of the wall. He also spoke about animals, birds, reptiles, and fish. And Mizrahites of all people sent by every king on earth, they had heard his wisdom, came to listen to Solomon's wisdom. Okay, the final chapter, chapter 5, Hiram building materials. King Hiram of Tyre sent his emissaries to Solomon when he heard that he had been anointed king in his father's place. But Hiram had always been friends with David. Solomon sent his messenger to Hiram. You know, my father David was not able to build a temple for the name of the Lord God. This was because of the warfare all around him until the Lord put his enemies under his feet. The Lord my God has now given me rest on every side. There is no enemy or crisis. So I plan to build a temple for the Lord, promised my God, according to what the Lord promised my father David. I'll put your son on your throne in your place, and he'll build a temple for my name. Therefore, command that cedars from Lebanon be cut down for me. My servants will be with your servants, and I'll pay your servants wages according to whatever you say. For you know that not a man among us knows how to cut timber like the Syrians. When Hiram heard Solomon's words, he rejoiced greatly and said, Blessed be the Lord today. He's given David a wise son to be over this great people. Then Hiram sent to reply to Solomon, saying, I have heard your message. I will do everything you want regarding cedar and cypress timber. My servants will bring the logs down from Lebanon to the sea, and I'll make them giraffes to go by sea in the place you indicate. I'll break them apart there, and you can take them away. You can meet my needs by providing for a household of food. So Hiram provided Solomon with all the cedar and cypress timber he wanted, and Solomon provided Hiram with 100,000 bushels of wheat as food for his household and 110,000 gallons of oil from crushed olives. 110,000 gallons of oil. That's a lot. Solomon did this for Hiram year after year. Oh. Then the Lord gave Solomon wisdom as he had promised him. There was peace between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty. Solomon's workforce. King Solomon directed forced laborers from all of Israel. The labor force numbered 30,000 men. He sent 10,000 to Lebanon each month, and just one month they were in Lebanon, 2 months they were at home. Adonai was in charge of the forced labor. Solomon had 70,000 porters and 80,000 stone cutters in the mountains, not including his 3,300 deputies in charge of the work. They supervised the people doing the work. The king commanded them to quarry large, costly stones to lay the foundation of the temple with just stones. So Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders, along with the Gabalites, quarried stone, prepared the timber and stone for the temple's construction. So that's all the reading for today. So, mark that page. It starts out. I skipped way too far. It starts out in chapter 2. I can find in chapter 2. It's talking about how, like, David gave his dying instructions to Solomon, where he needs to go, what he needs to do. And so Solomon kind of like takes over. And so eventually Adonijah requests to the mother, I don't know, let's say her name. He talks to the mother and asks that he can have a specific woman as wife. And so he was killed, and then Bithar gets banished, and then Joab gets executed for all the stuff, people he killed that their blood was on his hands. Then Shimei got banished and executed. And then how Lord appears to Solomon. And so he asked Solomon, what's one thing, what do you want? Do you want, like, Solomon could have chose riches or anything like that, but he asked for wisdom because he said it was in his youth, and like he just wanted discernment in his heart to know the difference between good and evil, to provide good justice and be a good leader. And so the Lord was very satisfied with his request, and so God not only gives him the knowledge and the wisdom, but he also makes him rich and gives him all stuff because of his request. And so it goes into a story about Solomon's wisdom, because it said that there are two women and they both lived alone together, and so they both had a baby, and one woman rolled over in the baby at the night, so she swapped the dead baby for the live baby of the other woman. And so when they came up to Solomon, he said, cut it in half and give it to half to each person. And so the woman that said, no, don't do it, just give it to the other person, he realized was the mother, because she just wants her baby to live, not to have like half of a baby that's dead, because it's her kid. And so that just shows part of his wisdom. And so then it talks about Solomon's officials that are in charge, and it just kept on going names. And like Solomon said in the provisions, and then how he gave wisdom and military gifts, and then how he requested to around the building materials that he need, and then what he provided on their part, what they provided on his part, and like they kind of had a treaty. And so that is all the reading for today. So I hope you've had a great day so far. Have a great rest of your day. And remember, God loves you. Goodbye.